Am I the a-hole for telling my family to get someone other than the family screw-up, me, to babysit since I'll never be good for anything? I, 17 male, am the family screw-up if you ask anyone in my family, including my parents, my siblings, and their spouses. They've always seen me that way, and I am clumsy and struggle with coordination, etc. But 3 years ago, we found out why when I was diagnosed with dyspraxia. Suddenly, all the struggles I had made sense, but my parents made it into the biggest negative because they saw it as confirmation that I'd never go anywhere in life. The guys in our family are all physically active and work in construction. That's expected for all the men. I always knew that could never be me, and they always thought, until my diagnosis, that they could shame me into doing better. Once my diagnosis was official, they didn't see me as being worth the effort anymore. Every time I hurt myself as a kid, they were on me for not paying attention or not listening. When school sent home emails and notes saying that my handwriting was awful, or that I couldn't follow certain instructions well, or when I got hurt at school using scissors or something, they were always so angry. They'd punish me and tell me I needed to do better. If I said I tried my best, they didn't believe me. They'd say all you had to do was see the mess that I wrote or drew or cut out. I was 7 or 8 when someone first suggested I might have dyspraxia, and my parents rejected the idea and said I was just being careless. They kept getting angry about the mistakes I'd make or my lack of coordination. My siblings loved to make fun of me for that stuff too. I also had problems with speech sometimes, and that was another thing my parents accused me of being too lazy to get right, and my siblings would mock me relentlessly for it. More than once, I was told I'd never be good at anything or good for anything. I was told nobody would trust me to tell them the time because I'd find a way to mess it up. My siblings loved calling me the family screw-up, and they said I embarrassed everyone, that even our grandparents wanted as little as possible to do with me. Oh, and when I got my diagnosis, they said I was too stupid to walk in a straight line or use scissors, and that I should change my name to Ralph Wiggum. In the last few years, my parents have become grandparents to 6 kids. Now that some of them are a little older and my siblings with kids miss being able to go out with their spouses on weekends, they want a babysitter. Even for family get-togethers, they'd like someone to babysit. Everyone said that since I was the youngest, I could do it. But that ticked me off, and I said no. They didn't expect it and told me it wasn't my decision, and I said it isn't theirs either. I said to get someone other than the family screw-up to babysit since I could never be good for anything. My parents told me I was being given a chance to prove myself and I should take it if I believe I'm capable of being more than a burden. I said they were out of luck because I'm just too Ralph Wiggum for that. My parents didn't get it. My siblings were like, "You can't take a joke." Everyone's mad, but I think they're all a little too afraid to force the babysitting now. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They have never been there for you or supported you in any capacity. You don't owe them anything. They aren't family. They are monsters. Focus your time on saving money and getting the heck away from them. You're right. Nobody in my family ever tried supporting me. My parents actually refused to support me by getting me tested sooner. People suggested it, and they were always so against it, until a teacher pushed before I went to high school. Obviously, you can't be trusted to walk and chew gum. Why would they think you can babysit? Especially for free. I mean, ER visits are expensive. How are you supposed to afford them if you're not getting paid? Not the a-hole. Oh, and ask your school about occupation or vocational rehab training. They can probably get you into a career other than construction. I'm trying to get my grades for certain classes good enough to get into video game stuff. I love games and I work pretty well with computers, so I'm hoping and my teachers are hopeful I can do it. I hope you know you're not the a-hole, and by what you've said here, I believe you have a great future in front of you. I'm going to laugh my butt off when you're more successful than all your siblings, and they can't figure out why you won't help them out financially 10 years down the road. Keep doing what you're doing, OP. I have faith in you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying I'd end a relationship if my kid didn't like my partner's kid when my brother asked me what I'd do in his shoes? My brother is a single dad with a 9-year-old son. My nephew's mom is not in the picture. For the last 3 years, my brother has been dating Kayla, and for the last 2 years, my brother and Kayla have introduced their sons. Her son is also 9 to each other, and they spend time as a group. The boys do not like each other, and my brother has told me that both of them complain and try to get out of spending time together. The first time they met was at a kids' play center, and within 10 minutes, the boys were playing with different groups of kids. The second time, they went to see a movie, and Kayla's son moved seats to sit next to his friend. The third time, my nephew went to listen to a different story time, but in the same library, obviously. Other times, they brought them to the amusement park 20 minutes from my brother's house, and they chose to go on different rides from each other. And when they went on the same one, they chose to be in different rows or carts. When they've spent time at each other's houses, they do their own thing. When they play games together, they want to partner with their parents and not each other. And when they were forced to, it ended in them fighting and refusing to play. They have attended each other's birthday parties, and there were no interactions beyond forced ones. My brother and Kayla tried to plan sleepovers, and were left with 2 kids who did not want to hang out with each other. If they can avoid it, they won't sit next to or across from each other at meals. My brother and Kayla wanted to move in together and get married, but the boys are still avoiding each other and not getting along. Both say they don't like the other, and I'm not sure if reasons were asked or given, but neither of them was okay with the idea of the 4 living together. My brother said Kayla wants to try living together and making it work, but he's not sure, and he's worried he could lose my nephew to the decision eventually, or that it will hurt their relationship. He asked me what I'd do, and I said I would end a relationship if my kid and their kid could not get along. I said sibling fighting is normal, but these boys aren't siblings yet, and when there are no good moments, or moments where they want to or are okay with being around each other, it seems like a recipe for disaster. Our mom told me not to discourage my brother, and that things like this can be worked on. She told me when my brother left that I should have just supported him. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He was asking how you would handle it. You're giving your feelings on the matter after he asked for them. I don't know if it would help anything at this point, but have they considered family counseling? With the state of their various relationships, they should go see a professional before making major decisions and changes. Kayla suggested it, but my brother wasn't so sure since they don't even live together, and because they lack the good times for him to really think there's anything to work on. Not the a-hole. Truly, if he listens to you, he might save his relationship with his son, because another partner can be found. But another son? Exactly. I know there are people who treat their kids like they're easy to replace. Deadbeats who start whole new families come to mind. But in reality, I could not damage my relationship with my kids for a romantic relationship. Kids aren't side characters in your love life. They're your responsibility. If you're picking romance over your own child, you've already failed the most important job. Unfortunately, there are people out there who treat them as secondary or less important, and some have the nerve to be upset when they lose their relationship with them. Is there a way that you or your brother could sit down with your nephew and just talk to him? Find out why he may not like the other boy? 9-year-olds can be pretty articulate. There may be things like the other kid is a bully, takes toys, talks badly to him, hits him, etc., and he may not want anything to do with him. But these may be things that the parents don't see or hear. I'd give the son a voice, since he'll have to live with this other kid for another 9 years if their parents move in together. If something like violence is going on, your brother needs to know. I think that would make the decision pretty clear. My brother already has. I don't know if he asked about why or what my nephew said if that was asked, but the conversation did take place. That was part of what was making my brother really consider whether this relationship should continue. Next story. Am I the a-hole for preventing my pregnant sister access to my food? My sister, 31 female, is staying with me temporarily after leaving her husband. I, 29 male, have a small apartment, but I let her move in because she had nowhere else to go and she's 6 months pregnant. I wasn't very pleased about this situation, but she is my sis after all. The main issue has been food. I'm pretty disciplined about what I eat because I am in bulk stage and hitting the gym regularly. I portion things, label them, and plan for the entire week. But every other day something's gone. Makes me crazy. She'll drink all my expensive shakes, polish off meals I've prepped for work, eat snacks I've saved for post-run, and even finish leftovers I was planning to turn into new meals. When I bring it up, she shrugs and says things like, cravings hit hard, or hormones, or you are being mean. I asked her to replace things she finishes, or at least ask before taking something. Or heck, manage her own food for God's sake. She refuses to do anything about it. So last week, I ordered a small mini fridge and set it up in my bedroom. It's just big enough for my meal prep, snacks, and drinks. I didn't make a scene about it. I just quietly started putting all my stuff there. She noticed 2 days later and got mad. She said I was being childish, dramatic, and treating her like a thief. I calmly told her I was tired of my groceries disappearing and that this was the easiest way to avoid fights. Now she's sulking and has told our parents that after her failed marriage, her brother is also alienating her, and she is just a burden for everyone. My mom called and said pregnancy isn't easy, and especially for her situation. I don't think I'm being cruel. I'm still letting her live here rent-free, and I've even offered to order food or cook together. But I just want my food to be left alone. A part of me understands she's going through trouble, but at my expense? Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. She sounds dreadful. Of course she ought to realize that she's taking your carefully planned meals. She's being mean. I have been pregnant and have several children, and I never got cravings or blamed anything on hormones or pregnancy. She's clearly just buying in on this "I'm super special because I'm pregnant" BS. She's old enough and mature enough to get her act together. Having a baby doesn't make you a princess. I had whacked out cravings when I was pregnant and would literally throw up if I tried to eat something other than what I was craving. It was an absolute nightmare. You know what I still never did? Steal anyone's pre-prepped food or leftovers. Even when I was on bed rest for 3 months, I either had food delivered or placed a grocery pickup for my husband to grab on his way home from work. Stealing someone's food after they've asked you to not is just plain selfish and inconsiderate and has nothing to do with having a baby. Not the a-hole. You're treating her like a thief because she's acting like one. Cravings can be rough, but they don't completely take away your control. She's choosing to eat your food. If your mom thinks her actions are fine, tell her your sister can live with her. 100%. Also, if she doesn't go someplace else soon, you will have her in your small apartment and a newborn. She's a big girl and it's time to act like one. She needs a plan. If she doesn't have one, she needs to move back in with your parents. Hopefully they have more space and are willing to feed her. Not the a-hole. She's having a baby in 3 months. What's her plan? Are you supposed to be changing diapers and feeding everyone? She needs to move in with your parents. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pick up a friend at the airport because she booked a flight that arrived at 3 a.m.? So this last week, I had agreed to pick up a friend/neighbor at the airport around 10 p.m. She has physical restrictions and does not drive. She also maxes out her luggage, even though she was only going back to Philly for 2 weeks. She always has 2 large checked bags, as close to the 50-pound max limit as possible, and 3 carry-on bags. She likes to stay up late, so she always books the latest flight to arrive back in town. In hindsight, I also realized that there are lots of crazy drivers around the airport in Vegas at night. The last 3 times I have gone to the airport, I have almost gotten into accidents, with drivers cutting me off when heading there. So this last Tuesday, she was set to return at 9:50 p.m. From the time she lands, it usually takes her close to an hour to get her bags and get to the pickup area. So we're talking 10:50 p.m. before she's ready. I asked her to text me when the flight took off so I would know it was on time. She texted me that the flight was delayed and it sat on the ground for at least 2 hours. Finally, around 1 a.m. Philly time, she told me the flight was canceled due to weather. She said they got off and there was a long line to reschedule flights, but there was also an app she could use. I told her that I didn't want to be driving to the airport after 10 p.m. to pick her up. There were a few flights much earlier than her current one. She texted me back that she had rebooked for a 9:20 departure and arrival at 11:50 p.m. I reminded her that I didn't want to be driving after 10 p.m. and that it would take her an hour to get out of baggage claim. She told me her bags were already sent and she might be out around 12:30 a.m. instead. I told her I would not be coming out at 12:30 a.m. to pick her up. As it turns out, her flight was delayed again and left at 1 a.m. Philly time, arriving at 3 a.m. local time. I told her to call an Uber and that she needed a credit card to set up an account. Her reply was, "I didn't bring a credit card with me." Who does that? So does that make me an a-hole for not agreeing to pick someone up at 3 a.m. instead of 9:50 p.m.? Not the a-hole. Don't give her rides anymore, no matter what time. It wasn't until after I agreed to pick her up that I realized how many crazy drivers there were around the airport at night. It doesn't matter how many crazy drivers there are. I'm the nicest person ever. I've done airport drop-offs/pickups at 6 a.m. and 10 p.m., but I would not do 3 a.m. There are limits and there are boundaries. If she can afford to fly with all those bags, then she can afford the taxi. That's the reality of it. I would no longer be offering rides to this person. If you are visiting someone and they are picking you up at the airport, it is courteous to get a flight that lands at a reasonable time. I would never pick a flight that lands at 10 p.m. unless that is my only option. Sometimes that's how it shakes out when you travel internationally. But last time I landed at late night for an international flight, I took a taxi to my friend's place. Not the a-hole. She can get an Uber/Lyft/taxi. She seems really entitled and ungrateful and manipulative. Especially in Las Vegas, where the airport is perfectly central and not way out in the exurbs. You can Uber from the airport to anywhere in the Las Vegas Valley for an acceptable amount. Traveling without a credit card seems unlikely. Uber was the way to go, and she should have figured that out. She can always use Apple Cash. Sounds like she just didn't want to pay it. Yeah, when was the last time you went to a normal hotel and booked with cash and no card? When was the last time you traveled by air without a card? I bet she doesn't reimburse for gas. She's just cheap and entitled.